First place Baltimore Orioles all weekend long out in Seattle. And, of course, they'll be playing the Dodgers in L.A. For the 4th of July, which is not a bad place to be with Dodger Stadium and some palm trees. My next guest has some palm trees out in Santa Barbara, California, where he resides and covers all things NBA for Sports Illustrated, NBA.com, Yahoo Sports, and at Point After. You can follow his journey on Twitter at Ben Lebo. That's Lebo. He is Ben Lebowitz, NBA contributor on many platforms out in social media. What's going on, Ben? How are you, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Well, I'm okay, but I mean, for you NBA guys, the season's over, and it looks like you get to put your feet up. But between summer leagues and free agency and where Kevin Durant's going to be, it feels like about a month ago that LeBron was swatting shots and having parades, but it was just last week, man.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting into the nitty-gritty now. We obviously saw some big-time trades before we even got to the NBA draft with Derrick Rose moving over to New York, so a lot happening already.
Well, from a local perspective, on the Wizards' perspective, you did a piece about best teams ever at a point after. And we could talk about that and where the Cavaliers would wind up. But for us, I mean, the Wizards has all been about Durant. I mean, I got emails in my box to try to implore Kevin Durant to come sign with the Wizards. Dude, if he's not going to sign with the Wizards now, this isn't like traditional free agency where it's about money and years. And this is all about, like, where am I going to surround myself with the best chance to win? Because they're tired of watching LeBron play every June, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Kevin Durant certainly has no shortage of options of where he's going to choose to wind up. I would bet ultimately he ends up staying in Oklahoma City on that kind of one-and-one deal where he has 1 year and then the player option for the following year, and then maybe test free agency waters the next year, but
everybody seems to think that's what he's going to do, right? I mean, that why run out on Oklahoma City right now when they might be the best team next year with him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Serge Ibaka trade that we saw during the draft is very interesting. Gives them a new look with Victor Oladipo at the shooting guard spot. I mean, a lot more athleticism, I think, out on the wing. It would be a really interesting season to see how Russ, Victor Oladipo, and KD shape up together, but I'm not sure if that's appealing to Kevin Durant or if he wants to look somewhere else. It's going to be interesting.
Well, I think the Boston Celtics are an interesting place, right? Very rarely in the modern era do you have that much cap space and the flexibility to really revamp your team. I mean, I look at Cleveland and look at Golden State, and one of the things I see is everybody else is a long way away from being there for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one thing that Boston is really missing right now is that one key star, and Durant absolutely can be that. The question is, does he think that team can win right away and contend for a title right away? And right now, I'm not really convinced that they can. I love Brad Stevens, what he's been able to do with that young group, getting Isaiah Thomas to become an all-star for the first time. He's been great, but at this juncture, I'm just not certain that Boston gives him the best chance to win a title, and I think that's really what it's going to come down to with this decision. Maybe down the road when they get some more pieces, but for right now, I would probably hedge my bets with staying at OKC.
You know, I wrote a book on the Ravens about 3.5 years ago when they won the Super Bowl. And, I talked to everybody in the organization, literally. And even if you go back and look at the quotes, every one of them used the word luck, that at some point luck takes over. Boy, when I look at the Cavaliers and what happened, there was a tremendous amount of good fortune that blessed them with the parade. I mean, there's a real razor's edge between them winning and not winning and how much fun those poor Cleveland people, those miserable people, have at least had for the last week or two, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, they definitely stormed through the Eastern Conference, so you can't really pin that on luck. I think Cleveland was far and away the best team. I don't think during the regular season they really showed what they could do, but I think that's really what LeBron has kind of come to do nowadays. Is he uses the regular season more as a tune-up for the playoffs, and then when the playoffs come around, he's really ready to turn it on. And we obviously saw that in the NBA Finals this year when he just refused to lose against Golden State.
Well, that's something only he could know, right? What it's like to play into June every year and what it does to your body and how it feels different at 30 than it did at 20, right? And him pacing himself, I think anybody was shocked that they were there. Everybody thought they would be there. But then down 3-1 with the Warriors with their foot on the throat and having done it to everyone all year long and been the most dominating team that I've ever seen on a night-by-night basis in a league where lots of teams tend to sleepwalk through January, February, March, specifically when they have 15-game leads. They didn't do that. And in the end, maybe there wasn't any gas left in their tank, but certainly the Draymond Green situation, the missed shots at the end, their inability in the end to do what they could do, which is go out and shoot the lights out in the fourth quarter every night.
Right, for sure. I know, like, at the end of the day, obviously the Draymond Green suspension, that hurt Golden State, then Andrew Bogut hurting his knee, he was out. He's a big piece of their defense. He's the last line at the rim when people penetrate to the bucket. Obviously, he's not going to be stopping LeBron 9 times out of 10, but he is a force down there. So missing those guys hurt Golden State, but at the same time, you have to win with who you have. And I think Cleveland saw that last year without Kyrie and Kevin Love. So they had a really unlucky year last season, if you want to pin it on luck. But really, at the end of the day, I don't think the Warriors would make any excuses. They were up 3-1. They didn't get it done, and that's why I ended up ranking them 5th, actually, on the most dominant NBA team seasons in history, this piece that I wrote recently. I thought they would have ended
Well, give me
higher,
the system on that, by the way, because I think the system is it's a little more science involved here, what you're trying to do out there at Point After.
Yeah, absolutely. So at pointafter.com, we really try and focus more on the data-driven side, numbers side, as opposed to the more subjective side, which has its pros and cons. But the way that I ranked this list of the best NBA teams ever, first I took every team that has won a title, and then I added to that teams that had a winning percentage of 600 or better and also reached the NBA Finals. So no teams that didn't reach the final showdown were included, and that narrowed our scope to 114 teams.
Okay, and then you put it into the popcorn machine, and what happens?
So from there, we had 4 factors that I ended up using, which was regular season winning percentage. Obviously, the 72-win Bulls, 73-win Warriors performed the best by that metric. Playoff winning percentage, which it's kind of difficult to use this, but it kind of shows how dominant a team was, that they're really storming into the finals, sweeping teams. They're really proving that they are the best in the conference. And you can obviously say that because the Warriors played a better team in Oklahoma City, they should get points for that, but that's not how the system works. And then from there, we added net rating, which is how many points teams outscored their opponents by on a per 100 possession basis. And then simple rating system, which is a rating by basketballreference.com that accounts for strength of schedule and point differential. So we used those 4 factors to tie in which teams were the best all time.
Okay, and, the Bullets were a part of this, right? I mean, there was a great Bullets team back in the 70s before your time that I used to watch.
Yeah. So actually 3 Bullets teams from the 70s made it onto that list of 114 teams, but none of them cracked the top 33, which is where I had the cutoff. But the best team in Bullets history, Wizards history, is the 1974-75 team. They ended up winning a franchise record 60 games, made it to the NBA Finals where they eventually got swept by the Warriors. So they didn't even end up winning a title, but they were the best performing by this metric.
Rick Barry was pretty good in that series, if you look that one up, as I remember it as a youth. Ben Leibowitz joining us here. He's with Point After, as well as at Sports Illustrated and some other places, in breaking down the numbers that go behind the stories. And you can follow his journey at Ben Lebo out on Twitter as well. You're working on some free agent stuff, so this is a time of year where you numbers crunchers get to really go to work for the teams, right? And say, well, here's why Harrison Barnes should get get a max contract, right? But then, for all the contracts that are out there, ranking the ones that really are difference makers. I mean, people can piss on how much money, Love gets and whether he's worth it or not. They won the championship, so it doesn't matter. And the Warriors didn't, and all these other teams feel to be very far behind in that stretch for me. But this is an all-season where teams like the Wizards, they loaded up to go get a Durant. So if they don't go get a Durant, what are they going to do with that money, and how do they spend it wisely to become a better basketball team?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what Phil Jackson is doing in New York is really intriguing. And granted, the Knicks have not been good in recent years. They've not been good in a while. But at the same time, Phil is kind of biding his time, because if you don't get one of those big superstar players that's really going to put you into title contention, you kind of have to sit on your hands a little bit. And I know that that's difficult to do. But you look at the contract where he signed Robin Lopez to a modest deal. That deal is going to look great when the cap continues to rise moving forward. Obviously use that to flip for Derrick Rose. So I think those are the kinds of people you have to look at, like the more unsung guys. Marvin Williams had a really solid year for Charlotte. Nick Batum, another guy who can really add a lot on the perimeter, both defensively and shooting the three ball. So you kind of have to look at more of the unsung guys and target them to get them to more modest contracts if you're not going to get those big name stars. And in this year's free agency, it's really Kevin Durant or bust.
Well, it's interesting for me with the Wizards and being around here all these years and seeing them be, mainly, indifferent. The crowd's indifferent. The team's kind of. The last couple of years, Wall and Beal was coming together. Dude, that Pierce signing was unbelievable. I mean, he made all the difference in the world. He comes in. They're a really good team, and they have a chance, and he's hitting big shots, much like LeBron when it mattered in April and May, and gave them a living, breathing chance to try to surprise some teams and maybe get to a final, maybe get to Cleveland. But then you lose them. Those are the kinds of signings where in the NBA, one guy for one period of time can mean the difference between you being a team that has a chance or a team that has no chance.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing with Paul Pierce is I think we've been seeing for a while that he's been on the decline, but something that doesn't show up in the box score is what he means to that locker room. And obviously, as a veteran sage, somebody who's won a championship, a future Hall of Famer, what he can bring to John Wall and Bradley Beal just on a day-to-day basis of keeping them accountable, making sure that they're putting in the work, that's something that's not going to show up to the media, but obviously something that they missed this season.
Ben, great having you on, man. Tell everybody what you do out there in taking this analytical look at things.
Yeah, so I write for PointAfter.com, which is part of the Graphic Network. We have the world's largest knowledge graph, as we like to say, which covers everything outside the world of sports as well. So go and check that out. A lot of different data points, data visualizations that you can see anywhere around the web. It's exciting times over here in Santa Barbara.
Hey, man, great having you on, Ben. Enjoy the off season here, and I'm happy Cleveland won. They had their parade. They had their fun. Now their football team's going to stink. It's perfect.
Yeah, for sure.
See you later, Ben. Thanks for the time. Ben Leibowitz, you can follow him out on Twitter at Ben Lebo. If you like basketball and the NBA, you'll dig what they do out at Point After. You can find us in the Buy a Toyota audio all 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device. Download the TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear, no static at all, and our morning newspaper can be delivered to your email inbox free of charge every morning at 7 a.m. That is powered up by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Our WNST Rock Week is coming July 11th. Many rock stars from 25 years ago never before aired. I had never listened to them. I certainly had never edited them. There were some S-bombs and some F-bombs that needed to come out. But July 11th, let's see, Daryl Hall, Billy Joel, John Bon Jovi, the Black Crowes, Dan Fogelberg, all sorts of good stuff. You'll dig it. WNST Rock Week is the hashtag. I've been bleeding out some pictures and some fun stuff out on social media. Speaking of social media, you can email me anytime. Nasty@WNST.net. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat, anywhere you are. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.